than the Ministry of Communication. Now, President Mahama, when he took over, took the Ministry of Communication from Haruna Iddrisu and gave it to Dr. Mani Boama, and also added information. So Dr. Mani Boama was Minister for Communication with the Ministry of Information part of it. Immediately, Haruna Iddrisu was gone, and Haruna was not in the list. So what happened on that occasion? Rows broke out in Tamale. Rows broke out in Tamale. You can Google it, you find it's there. Rows broke out in Tamale about Haruna Iddrisu is not in the cabinet of President Mahama. And there was a lot of confusion. And everyone could see that President Mahama's hand was being forced to have Haruna Iddrisu in the cabinet. Now the question is, the question that begs an answer is that why will President John Dramani Mahama, a Gonja from the north, NDC member, not have Haruna Iddrisu, a Dagomba from the north also, in his immediate cabinet? Clever Haruna Iddrisu, the star, shining star of the party, one of the youngest people that Professor Mills put in his cabinet. Why will President Mahama exclude Haruna Iddrisu from the first list of parliament, of ministers? And why will President Mahama also take communications ministry away from Iddrisu Haruna and hand it over to Dr. Mani Boama? So the route then continued. Eventually, it appeared that President Mahama had succumbed to the route and made Iddrisu Haruna the trade minister. But there's a catch. Iddrisu Haruna became trade minister. Guess who became his deputy? One of the people considered to be Haruna's enemy in the party. Not because they don't like each other, but by design of their contest for the National Youth Organizer position years earlier. Nilante van der Poel, the member of parliament for Ododo Diodio, was titled as the candidates for the National Youth Organizer position of the NDC years earlier, heavily supported by the party founder, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, as he then was. Iddrisu Haruna competed against the established candidate Van der Poel and defeated him. So Haruna and Nilante were said not to have such a good relationship. What did President Mahama do? He put the two men who are said not to have a good relationship together at the Ministry of Trade, one as boss, one as deputy. It was indicated that President Mahama was trying to create confusion for Haruna. Somehow, Haruna went to the ministry, was successful. He bonded with Nilante van der Poel. As soon as Haruna was okay at the ministry and everything seemed okay with him, then he was taken off to Labour. At the time Haruna went to Labour, there were heavy Labour agitations. All political analysts were saying that, why is John Mahama putting Haruna in harm's way, if you like? But that's what we found until election 2016 occurred, and then Haruna became minority. So whether or not President Mahama was part of this decision is the question that everyone was asking. Now, listen to Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the party, hesitating to answer the question of Umaru Sanda of City FM as to whether President Mahama endorsed this decision or not. Fifi Kwete hesitated. Let's hear him, and then we'll come and look at the statement itself. This is Umaru Sanda speaking to Fifi Kwete earlier today.
And so on. I think I prefer not to go into that. All I can say that all the key leaders that I've mentioned have been duly consulted.
Was former President Mahama consulted on this decision?
I've just told you that he's been consulted. Yeah.
And he approved that you should go ahead with what you were going ahead with.
I just told you that he has been duly consulted and his views were taken into consideration. Yeah.
I know. So I'm asking that after he was consulted, did he say yes, he agreed with the decision, or no? Because we are told he said no, don't do that, hold on onto it. Is that true?
All I can say is that he has been consulted, his views were duly reflected.
The ones who have been removed, i.e. Haruna Iddrisu.
So you see the clear hesitation on the part of the General Secretary of the party as to whether President Mahama has endorsed this decision or not. He says that everyone was consulted and that President Mahama's views were taken into consideration. Then Sanda asked him what we've all heard today, that is it true that President Mahama said, hold it, take your time a little bit? He didn't quite answer. He said President Mahama's views were taken into consideration. Okay, so let's go and look at the statement that was issued by the Honorable Fifi Kwete today. It goes as follows, and it is a statement written to the Speaker. It's a letter to the Speaker. It says, Dear Mr. Speaker, the national leadership of the National Democratic Congress wishes to formally bring to you notice the following changes the party has undertaken in its parliamentary leadership. Minority Leader Honorable Dr. Kaisel Ato-Forsen, Deputy Minority Leader Honorable Kofi Ama-Boa, Minority Whip Honorable Kwame Abuja, and First Deputy Whip Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. The letter goes on. The new leadership would be charged to recommend consequential changes in the ranking membership of the headquarters of the party for approval. Please accept the assurance of our highest regard. Thank you. Yours faithfully. And so that letter is signed by Fifi Kwete. It says that the new leadership will now have to recommend the story. Now, let's get back to that, the list. Let's put the graphics on. Can you give me the graphics? And let's get to the list. I'm going to talk about Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. But let's get the, they're going to get us some graphics. Is that what? Okay, so the first one is Haruna Idrisu and John Mahama. We've told you the story. What about Haruna Idrisu and Mohamed Muntaka? President Mahama and Mohamed Muntaka. We would assume that Muntaka is also a big supporter of President Mahama. The strength that Muntaka held in the leadership in that parliament was that he comes from Ashanti region. You know that the NDC and the MPP both have Ashanti region in their big equation. For the NDC, win 30% of Ashanti region, you can win the national election. For the MPP, win 75% of Ashanti region, you can win the national election. And so Ashanti region is always important to the NDC to grab that all significant 30%, which sometimes in numbers is bigger than many other regions. So Muntaka's representation in the leadership of the NDC has always been connoted as bringing the Ashanti factor, because he's an MP of a big constituency, Asawase, in Ashanti region, which is a constituency of mixed people, and he wins that constituency all the time. So taking him out of the parliament has something to say about what you want to do with the Ashanti region going forward. But Muntaka is out now. And then Kaysel Atuforsen is the new kid on the block. Now, you will know that Kaysel Atuforsen has always been one of the allies of John Mahama. John Mahama is one of his patrons. President Mahama kept him at the Ministry of Finance. And I have to correct that, but I think he was at the Ministry of Finance as Deputy Minister to Seth Terkper because under Professor Mills, the ministers were at Finance was Dr. Dufour, Fifi Kwete, and Seth Terkper. And under President Mahama, it was Seth Terkper, Kaysel Atuforsen, and later on Mona Korte as deputy. So Kaysel Atuforsen came in very strong as Deputy Minister of Finance under President Mahama and was responsible for a lot of the thinking that went on in the finance sector. So he's a Mahama guy, isn't it? He's now the majority leader. Later tonight, we'll be sharing with you his performances in his own parliamentary constituency, and then you get that as well. Okay, Ama Kofi Boah is also very certainly a President Mahama boy. He's a good friend of mine, very good guy, Ama Kofi Boah, I have to say. And Ama Kofi Boah also was Deputy Minister for Energy, and then later on, President Mahama made him Minister for Energy. Otin Jesse was the minister, and during the Mills era, when President Mahama he promoted Ama Kofi Boah to become the Minister for Energy. So yes, of course, he's one of his good people. And then let's go through the list again and see what's next. Okay, all right. So this is who is out and who is in. So Haruna Idrisu out for Forsen, Ama Kofi Boah out. Okay. Now, I'd like to speak about a gentleman called, where is the deputy whip? I don't have it here. Ooh, Ahmed Ibrahim is right there. Okay. I'd like to speak about Ahmed Ibrahim. Now, Ahmed Ibrahim is one of the two retained people in this equation. Now, who is Ahmed Ibrahim? Now, I'll show you who Ahmed Ibrahim is in a minute. Ahmed Ibrahim is the Member of Parliament for Banda. Why is he important in this equation? Because it was Ahmed Ibrahim, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Banda, who attended Johnson Asiedu Nketiah's campaign launch in Accra, the big campaign launch that was done. Ahmed Ibrahim attended. When he attended, he spoke at the event and said that he is representing Haruna Idrisu, the minority leader in Parliament. This is the launch of Asiedu Nketiah's campaign, okay? Now, that's Ahmed Ibrahim on the screen. Thank you very much for that. When he spoke, he also said that Haruna Idrisu has asked him to say that the minority caucus in Parliament are behind Asiedu Nketiah's bid to become chairman of the party. I'm going to show you the video of this event, happened a few months ago. And then I'll show you Haruna Idrisu's statement after the event. This is Ahmed Ibrahim speaking at that Johnson Asiedu Nketiah launch. Have a look.
Choboy! 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 Yo, me papa, General Mosquito. Nanka was the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, the minority leader himself, Ewoha. But in the Parliament, se wahwe MPs ne dressing obia she black. Estati anopa. Yewo IEA presentation. I was a minority leader, any majority leader ni nyina. Mene wo kasai omuguswa omoye IEA presentation on constitutional amendment. Ni science general osi MPs no enka ye hona ye ni omumra. But I could see that most of the MPs are even standing. It tells you, say, minority caucus, no, we have our unflinching support for you.
All right, so that's Ahmed Ibrahim. Now, get me the statement of, not this one, the statement of Haruna Idrisu, please, very quickly. not this one. The Haruna Iddrisu statement refuting James yes, please, let's not make these mistakes. It worries me a little bit. All right, so this is, so after he spoke at the event, he spoke at the event and said that he's representing Haruna Iddrisu at the launch of Johnson Asiedu Nketiah's bid to become chairman of the National Democratic Congress. He, Ahmed Ibrahim, is representing Haruna Iddrisu. And that Haruna Iddrisu says that the minority caucus are with General Mosquito for the bid of the chairmanship. Soon after that event, Haruna Iddrisu issues the statement on the letterhead of the Office of the Minority Leader. Let's go through it. It says, the attention of the leadership of the NDC caucus. Let's see the date. Sorry, let me get the date. So this is 26th October 2022. That's when the statement was done. It goes as follows. The attention of the leadership of the NDC caucus in Parliament has been drawn to a statement made by Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, MP for Banda and Deputy Minority Whip at the launch of the election campaign of Honorable Johnson Asiedu Nketiah on Tuesday, 25th October 2022, to the effect that the NDC caucus in Parliament was supporting the candidature of Honorable Asiedu Nketiah for the position of chairman of the party. The leadership of the caucus categorically denies the assertion by Honorable Ibrahim Ahmed and wishes to state as follows. Now, this is where the catch is, viewers. Have a look at this. Now, it says the leadership of the caucus categorically denies. When he says the leadership of the caucus, who is he referring to? He's referring to himself, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, and most importantly, Honorable Mubarak Muntaka, the chief whip. It is the two of them that he's referring to as the leaders of this thought process. If he says the leadership of the caucus categorically denies the assertion by Honorable Ibrahim Ahmed and wishes to state as follows. 1, that the leadership of the caucus never met on the matter and have not taken any decision on the matter. The matter being whether or not they are going to support a candidate or not. That matter. They've never met. He goes on, number 2, he says that the caucus has not met and has not taken any decision on any of the candidates contesting any position within the party. Number 3, that the leadership and the caucus has no position on any of the candidates vying for the respective positions in the party. Number 4, that the Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim's attention was drawn to the matter and he has since rendered an unqualified apology to the entire caucus. We, he says, accordingly urge our rank and file and the public to disregard the purported statement made during the launch. We further wish to urge all members of the caucus to refrain from making such comments in the immediate future. Is signed by Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, Minority Leader. That's deep, isn't it? So now you're getting the picture, viewers. I think now you're getting the picture. So you see where it's coming from. Now, if I go and play to you the video of Haruna Iddrisu's constituency chairman, which I will later down the line, at the end of the series, I have just 5 minutes to finish, forgive me, you will find that he, the constituency chairman, actually mentions Johnson Asiedu Nketiah and Fifi Kwete for being responsible for the removal of Haruna Iddrisu as minority leader. So that's a very interesting statement. Now, the other conversation about all of this is that who appoints the minority leader anyway? Who does it? Who does that appointment? Is it the party? Should it be put to a vote? What does the Constitution say? So we checked the Constitution. I think between Articles 123 or 128 or so is on Parliament. And you don't find anything. So the National Constitution is silent on how leaders emerge. So we went to the standing orders and we got something. Standing Order 7, which is at the interpretation clause. You know, every law has an interpretation clause. So 296 is the interpretation clause for the 1992 Constitution. Article 296 is the interpretation clause. I think 296 or 295, I believe it's 296. That's the interpretation clause. So we checked the standing order, and any body of laws will have an interpretation clause. We saw it in Order 7. The interpretation. So we'll share with you and read it. Order 7 is interpretation. It reads as follows. Minority leader. It means a member of parliament designated by the party or parties and or members forming the minority as their recognized leader in the house. Let's take it again slowly so we get it. Who is minority leader? He's defined in the standing orders of parliament in Order 7 to mean a member of parliament designated by the party or parties and / or members forming the minority. So he's either designated by the party or he can be designated by the members who form the minority and they must recognize him as their leader. So The statement from Fifi Kwete, in his capacity as General Secretary of the NDC, is correct. Under Order 7 of the Standing Orders, is a statement, is a designation by the party in minority that is designating the new leader. So yes, of course, that is correct. They have been able to do that. Let's see now what Haruna Iddrisu said. Give me that photograph you had over there. What Haruna Iddrisu said, as we saw on his Facebook page or on his social media handle, the way he put it. People send that to me. We crop that, and he says, "Never let." Can you put it out for viewers to see, please? He says, "Never let a wishbone grow where a backbone should be. I will and forever serve my country." That's complex and complicated, if that is correct. Let's read it again. He says, from Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, and this is put out at the end of all the statements and this, that. He says, "Never let a wishbone grow where a backbone should be. I will and forever serve my country." No mention of the party. Absolutely no mention of the party. He says he will forever serve his country. Wow. Okay. We took this on social media, so we did not have enough time to determine whether it's correct or wrong. We believe that it's correct, but this is what we took from social media, so you can check and help us. Okay. So it's complicated, isn't it? Now, there has been some support coming in for President Mahama. People think that he's part of the decision. They support the decision. They think it's good. And there's been something coming in from people who think that Haruna Iddrisu should be the winner. Haruna Iddrisu is the victim of all the circumstances. Now, we will skip those because we don't have time. Let's go to the statement from Haruna Iddrisu's constituency chairman, which we played as a teaser. Listen to the constituency chairman. Listen to what he says. When we come back, we will do the election results situation. And then, well, this is one of those against the party. It says that your agenda against Haruna won't work. Friends of Haruna to JDM is with deep worry that, okay, so it's going on. I mean, these things, we don't take them too serious because we don't know who is asking somebody to put out something on social media. But there's been support both ways. Support for the decision and support against the decision. But this is the constituency chairman of Tamale South speaking earlier today. Very, very irate, very, very livid at the constituency office in Tamale. This is what he said.
Majority the change, that half of majority, you are not hear that the change the majority leader. You never hear that. Because Bagman make a minority leader and came majority leader. A change means supposed to come minority leader and come majority leader. Why Haruna Iddrisu came minority leader? You know, end your time, you come na. So that's one. You don't go to take it. You don't go to take it today. You don't go to take it tomorrow. But this one, we are not that. Two people do it. I said it and two of them do it. But we are aware that they will do more than this one because you know what to do. You know what to do. You know what to do. I said it vote. Me to our vote. These people all of them. Yes, to vote. So don't tell me that why we are voting. You know how to do. If you want, I'm the chairman for Tamale South constituency. If you tell my people that, oh, vote for Haruna, don't vote for your mama. Then you put them for the party. No, I ask you, if you go around and tell people that, vote for Haruna. So yes, so that's why don't ask me that if you accept, if you do that, then what I will do. So this one, that's why you say that you don't agree. This one you agree because difficulty if you don't do it. So I said, I want to remind you, that time you came to General Secretary, you don't have Bezua. You don't have Bezua to give anybody. But you have given the Secretary to you. So now you are a big man. You want to punish people. Look at nonsense. If you are the chairman, so what? If you are the chairman, so what? So I said, I want to tell you, I'm the constituency chairman. I don't care about you. I don't care about you. Oh, 50%.
The very irate constituency chairman of Tamale South. Now, let's do a quick comparison of the two MPs, the old minority leader, the new majority leader, in terms of their parliamentary strength. And this is I have on the screen now is Kessel Atuforsen. In 2012, he was elected by 52%, in 2016 by 53%, and indeed in 2020 by a much bigger margin of 58%. Now, he garnered 24,000 votes in 2012 in the constituency. In 2016, 25,000, and in 2020 he gathered the most votes, 39,000, maybe of a much more improved voters register in terms of the numbers. But in terms of his own gain, his gain in 2020 was significantly higher than the gain of 2016 and the gain of 2012. So that's Kessel Atuforsen. In the same constituency, President Mahama has been winning all the time. Even in 2016, did he? No, in 2016, President Mahama didn't win, even though Kessel Atuforsen won. President Mahama got 48% of the votes. President Akufo-Addo got 50% of the vote. Now, in 2020, President Mahama got 52% of the vote. President Akufo-Addo losing the constituency, even though Akufo-Addo eventually won the central region, getting 46% of the votes. Let's look at Haruna Iddrisu in a quick comparative analysis, and then we will be going to the montage and wrapping it up. Now, here's Haruna Iddrisu. We start from 2012. Now, look at the way he wins the election. 74% in 2012, 72% in 2016, 73% in 2020, defeating the NDC so massively. Now, John Dramani Mahama in the same constituency picks up 75% in 2012, 71% in 2016 when people were not doing well on the Mahama ticket. And then in 2020, President Mahama picks up 68%. So quite clearly, Haruna Iddrisu wins a far more comfortable victory than Kessel Atuforsen does. And you would expect your minority leader, when you are selecting him, to be one who is going to win comfortably. So look at 2020. Iddrisu Haruna picked 69,267 from the constituency. And this is a constituency that MPP used to have many years ago. And it has now become Haruna Iddrisu's constituency. And in 2020, the last election, he picks up 69,000 as compared to Yakubu Yusuf, who picks up 23,000. So almost 40,000 difference. More than 40,000 margin is what Iddrisu Haruna won Tamale South with. That's the kind of character that you will make your minority leader, I think. I mean, you look at the British Parliament, you look at the American Congress, you see that the leaders are selected from persons who are very comfortable in their constituency. In fact, in the British Parliament, because they can place people anywhere, the party decides where you run. They put their best people in those seats, conservative seats that they know are typically blue and that they will win hard. So this is the data analysis. Haruna Iddrisu is a far more stronger MP on the ground among his people than Kessel Atuforsen is, even though they both win. Now, it looks like that's it. We have to go now to the montage that we prepared for Haruna Iddrisu. Haruna Iddrisu has done a good job. Well done. But now it's time to say goodbye.
Way to go, Pakistan to stay. Become a revolution. Pakistan to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but a start to stay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Arise for Ghana, operation of the land. My compliments go to the new minority leader, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, who announced himself on the national stage when he came here in my last term in the House. It is clear that he has an important future in Ghanaian politics. I want to assure him and the leadership of the House on both sides that I will cooperate fully with Parliament to enhance the governance of our nation, to be able to do the business of Ghana effectively.
This one, we are know that two people do it. I said Nketia and two of them do it. But we are aware that they will do more than this one, because
I called to serve notice to the majority leader and chairman of the business committee that I will leave my side to file a motion for the removal of the Minister for Finance.
I'm the chairman for Tamasat constituency. If you tell my people that, oh, vote for Haruna, don't vote for your mama, then you put them for the party. No, I ask you, if you go around and tell people that, vote for Haruna. So yes, so that's why don't ask me that if you want this, if you accept, if you do that, then what I will do. So this one, that's why you say that you don't agree. This one you agree.
From B to B, the NDC shall lead. Stable Democrat, our unity.
Goodbye, Haruna Iddrisu, until we meet again in Parliament. All right, 6 minutes past 10 o'clock, we go to the Alan interview. But some MPP supporters who called me as I was coming into the studio, and guess what they said? They said, oh, Haruna Iddrisu has been removed as minority leader. Well, then the game begins. Tell him to come back to us. I said, come back to who? They said, but Paul, didn't you know Haruna Iddrisu was with the MPP before he joined the NDC, before Mohammed Sambas took him to NDC? Well, I didn't know. So they said, please play that, the Lucky Manson song for us, and play it for Haruna, that we in the MPP are telling him to come back to us. Here is Lucky. All right, then that's 7 minutes to the top of the hour. It's time for the Alan Kyerematen interview. And you know that the big story in Ghana before this morning and before the other story, some of you have been talking to me about it, isn't it? About this sexual harassment issue in some bank. Hey, Ghana, it's becoming very serious. It's becoming some big matter like that. And the young people here wanted me to sort of have a look at that story, but we didn't have much time today. Maybe on Thursday, we'll get some lawyers in and some social people to talk about the sexual harassment regime in Ghana. Is it getting worse or is it getting better? Now, though, let's go to text messages on this one, and then quickly we'll switch to the Alan Cash big story for tonight. I'll begin with you, Karen, if you are ready. What are people saying about the NDC story?
Okay, good evening. You back? From Francis Tosu, he says, Paul, you are always telling the untold story. Keep it up, champ. From D. Baba Taylor, good evening, Mr. Paul. In fact, you are numero uno. As far as modern day journalism is concerned, John Mahama is not comfortable with Haruna Iddrisu because JM thinks Haruna Iddrisu is a detractor to his second coming. Now all the Dagumbes are out in the leadership of the NDC. Jacob says Chairman General Asiedun Ketia is over-empowering himself. We have to be extra careful about him. We have one from Mubarak. He says a very necessary move to salvage the sinking country. Haruna is our man, and when JM is gone, we all are gonna throw our weight behind him to become the next vice president or president. Richard Mensah says this will not end here. Haruna will contest the party presidential slot. Mahama will regret this. And lastly, from Emmanuel Blankson, I can't wait to hear this analysis. Paul, Institute of Higher Learning. Over to you.
Okay, so this is coming from Berima Kwekujan. Cool. He says, Haruna Iddrisu ne Mutaka Mubarak, I am Mobo NDC mu too much. Papa no egu party no. Alhaji Bob Sidi comes and says, Paul, assalamu alaikum and good evening. We thank God today is Tuesday. Paul, according to one NDC top official this evening, they are targeting 9 MPs from the minority who are anti-Mahama and will make sure they are demoralized. So this is just the beginning of sacking and the scheme to unseat these 9 MPs from going back to parliament in 2024. The NDC is sitting on a time bomb, and this is a sign of good omen to the NPP to break the 8 if things are done well, inshallah. Greetings to my NP Honorable Echo Vincent. aka Tafu Kufuor. Michael Kessie says, "Good evening, Ghana is like a pornographic movie. People pretend not to like it in public, but secretly admire it." Citizen Bawa Atiku, the chairman is very charming with his mastery of the King's language. Kwejo Boache says, "A minority leader is now going to assume the backseat. I am leaving the NDC." Coming from Samuel Ofosuba, he says, "Honorable Haruna is speaking in parables. It denotes his victimization in his own political fraternity. NDC not, never again to the Ghanaian presidency." Stephen Kweku Abuaji says, "Whether there is a change in the NDC parliamentarians or the leadership or not, the NDC party will still remain in opposition." Coming from Delta Diblay, Paul, the minority leader, on several occasions said he doesn't own any social media account. So kindly verify from your sources for me. Thank you. Haruna Jibril says, by age 22, Alan was already a man fighting for his nation, Ghana, and the entire Africa with regards to trade and business. He is so passionate about jobs for boys and cash for the boys. Paul, you always tell the untold stories. Keep it up, champ. How many of our journalists can put together facts like Paul and his team they do? Kudos again. Jabba M. Johnson says, NDC needs someone who can match Bawumia boot for boot in economics. NDC in 2024 election campaign will base on economy, oil and gas, and infrastructure. Lastly, from Haruna Jibril, Alan is the only personality that is admired by a lot in the nation to be the next president because his credibility and integrity is highly remarkable. What do you have for us, Eunice?
Okay, NDC thought they were punishing Ofosu Ampofo. Now constituency executives are crying that Haruna Idrisu has been booted out. This one is coming from Mackenzie Nana Kweku Prempe, and then from Lord Elvis, he says, Mahama and Fifi Fiavi has really made me understand the phrase, Parliament is a mere rubber stamp. Stephen Kweku Abuaji says, what has happened to the leadership of NDC parliamentarians is unfortunate. Mr. Frida Faminta is also enjoying the program. She says, Paul, you are the best. Sir Ishak says, this is the weakest decision that is coming from the biggest opposition, and I am very disappointed in them. In as much as I didn't share ideologies with the NDC, I totally disagree with said decision. I know the changes are born out of pettiness from the national leadership. However, let's see how things unfold. The opposition is, in fact, empty. Coming from Samuel Fosuba, he says, Honorable Haruna is an NDC without democratic ideologies. He had succumbed to the conservative ideologies, which is of the NPP. As regards to this, the NDC fraternity does not confine with him. It will be better for him to change his political affiliation to the Conservative Party. If not, his own political fraternity shall destroy his political ambition, inshallah. Lily Rose says, the best political show in Ghana. Good evening, Ghana, led by Apostle Paul. Coming from James, he says, it is now an established principle of the NDC to have radicals at the helm of its affairs. The new minority parliamentary leadership is a further confirmation. Ibrahim Imoro Rashid says, hate or like Paul, he is the epitome of a first-class journalist. And lastly, from Abdul Latif Rahman, he says, good evening, Mr. Paul. May the good Lord continue to bless you for your hard work and service to Mother Ghana. Indeed, the NDC has really proven to Muslims in their party that they have no origin within the party, as compared to the NPP, which provided 2 Northern Muslims vice president. It saddens me when NDC claims their party is for Northern and Muslims. What's happened to Haruna Idrisu and Mubarak Mutaka should be a lesson to our brothers and sisters within the Zongo community. Hashtag 2023, be bold for Alan, next to leave for Chef Alan Tremontin, inshallah. Over to you, Angelo.
Right. Lukman Abubakar, watching us from Stuttgart in Germany, says, for the removal of Haruna Idrisu as a majority leader is just a doomsday conspiracy for the NDC. Anyways, may the confusion continue to fester until 2024. Well, it looks like Lukman is enjoying this. Abunyewa Meth Adakwa says, Haruna, who call Hokoyete? Anyway, Sir Bob the Citizen says, good evening, Paul. If Chairman Asiedu Nketia said they want a person who will talk more about the economy, why not your good friend, Honorable Adongo, watching you live from Ashaiman? Abdul Razak Isa says, in fact, you're becoming a political prophet. The analysis you have been doing about Asiedu Nketia and his political journey is right, and that is why we like following your political analysis. But please come back to Multi TV. The World Cup is over. Master Plana Junior Kintampo says, the minority leadership in Parliament has collapsed like Chelsea Football Club. Mahama boys are now taking over. Honorable Haruna Mubarak are anti-Mahama. That's why they've been substituted from the team. Greetings to Honorable Stephen and team. Onesis from Tashiban says, good evening, Paul. Let me assure you that these changes will not inure to the advantage of the NPP. The election of 2024 will not be on NDC's parliamentary leadership. It will be on the economy, development and fulfillment of manifesto promises. It will also be on the general state of affairs of the country. Nera Life Kaswa says, Chairman Asiedu Nketia says the NDC needs a strong team who understands economics. That's why they changed Honorable Buntaka and Honorable Haruna Idrisu. So where is Honorable Adongo? Hashtag Justice for Northerners. My greetings to Honorable Hawa Kumsin. Sulemana and Tamale is unhappy. He says disaster, distraction, wrong timing, unpopular and highly tribalistic ethnic bigotry. Why should Mahama, who is desperate for power, engage in such a decision to sack or oust Haruna Idrisu from the minority leadership position? Let nobody take it themselves and laugh. The NDC will pay dearly for this decision. Haruna Idrisu is not only an institution in the NDC, but a force to reckon with, and you tamper with him at your own peril. He says, hashtag reinstate Haruna or face our wrath. Right, and lastly, this is from Aki Efia constituency. He says the NDC is gradually becoming a lawless and disorganized group of people. Well, that's a bit harsh. He continues, how do you change leadership of your minority party in parliament through a communique on WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok? In fact, the disrespect of the NDC members of parliament by the NDC national chairman is getting out of hand. Right. So back to the poll.
We don't have too much time. Let's get on. But you have something on the Alan Chamatin behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's just 30 seconds long.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see the behind the scenes. Alan Chamatin. Okay, so it's time for the big interview. We've divided it into 4 parts. Now, Alan Chamatin began by telling us, giving us a big introduction, but his main 2 points are the first 2 files of our documents. Now, he says he identified the 2 important groups that he thinks should be excluded from the debt exchange program. And then he gave us his solution to the debt exchange program, how the money should be paid. He agrees that there should be a debt exchange program, but he says it should be done differently. So in the first file here, you're going to see who he identifies as the 2 most important groups that should be saved. This is Alan Chamatin speaking to us earlier.
Now, the domestic debt also has a number of, I would say, creditors who are involved. We have individual bondholders, and we have individuals who are involved in what is called collective investment schemes. So that you have individuals like yourself, your children, who decide that they want to put their money into an investment product, but they don't want to do it directly, in which case they become an investment, they become an individual bondholder, but they do it through institutions, investment management firms, who put together individuals and then, let's say, do an investment on their behalf. But remember,
on the behalf of all of them, the aggregate of
yes, the aggregate. So that's why it's called collective investment scheme. But remember that behind that curtain, there are still individuals.
Yes, they are.
Tailors, carpenters, people from all walks of life. So these 2 groups, the individual bondholders and those that are engaged in the collective schemes, in my view, are vulnerable. They are vulnerable. Yes, there may be a few of them who may be well to do, but the majority of them are what we can describe as vulnerable groups. In which case, one has to be very careful and sensitive about any debt restructuring proposals that we negotiate with this class of people. Then you also have the institutional bondholders. Now, these institutional bondholders include the banks, the insurance companies, other financial institutions, and other organizations, and then pension funds. So in this particular case, the structure is you have about 5% of this total domestic debt, which is around 137 billion Ghana cedis. That's the total domestic debt. Now the structure, the architecture, is about 5% held by individual bondholders.
The 137 billion.
Yes.
5% of it is held by individual bondholders.
Yes. And then you have another 10% that is held by, let's say, other forms of companies.
The group that you're calling them behind the curtain individual.
Yes,
but
yes.
over the curtain they are corporate.
They are corporate.
Yeah.
Then you have Bank of Ghana accounts for about 15%.
Debt owed to Bank of Ghana.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they are also creditors.
Yeah, yeah.
So between these three groups, you have like almost 5 plus 10 plus 15. That's 30. Then the rest are institutional bondholders. So that's where you have the banks and then all these other financial institutions. Now, the collective investment schemes somehow are represented in this category.
This 30%?
Yes. This,
okay.
No, in this 70%.
70%, okay.
Yes, yeah. Now, so the challenge now is, how do you deal with these different categories of bondholders? In my own view, and I'm not speaking on behalf of government in this regard, and it's a matter of strategic analysis. In my own view, we need to ring fence and protect not just the individual bondholders, but also those individuals who are engaged in these collective investment schemes, because they are the ones who I refer to as vulnerable groups. Now, it is absolutely important that we do so for a number of reasons. One, because of their vulnerability. This is income that have been earned and have been put into an investment scheme. Secondly, also, they provide a major source of liquidity for our economy. Now that we can no longer access the international capital markets, we have no choice but to come back home. And the money that they provide, the money that they put into these investment schemes or the bonds that they buy, is a major source of liquidity for government. Now that we cannot borrow from the international capital market. So any signal to this group that seems to suggest that what they had considered to be the most secure investment vehicle is now unsecure, could damage our chances as a government of mopping up liquidity in our economy.
In the future?
In the future. Thirdly, also, these same individuals, when they put money in bonds or these investment schemes, basically it's a saving. Instead of putting the money under their mattresses, they are putting their money in, let's say, secured instruments. Now, if we touch the investments from these vulnerable groups, we are also then making them lose the appetite and the interest and their desire for savings. And that's the most dangerous thing that could happen to any country, where people start losing interest in saving. And already our domestic savings ratio to GDP is very low. And in the matured economies, is the savings from individuals that really provides the liquidity for them. So whichever way you look at it, in my own view, in the architecture of dealing with these different categories of creditors, your best bet is to ring fence and protect the individual bondholders and also those in the investment
in the second category,
in the
collective
investment.
Okay.
So then it leads us on to, so which other category do you want us to touch now?
Yes.
The case is obvious, because together, that's between the individual bondholders and then those under the collective scheme, you're not talking about more than 15% of bondholders. The majority of them, from the breakdown that I spoke to earlier, are institutions, banks, insurance companies, and other financial institutions. So, in my view, having a debate about including individual bondholders and those involved in this collective investment scheme is creating a platform for very serious negative discourse, which potentially can create a problem for us, both domestically and internationally. So we are better off now in sitting down and engaging our institutional bondholders on what best architecture would help them preserve their liquidity, their profitability, their income levels, but at the same time contribute to Ghana fulfilling our debt restructuring obligations with the IMF. It's very important that we settle that matter first, that we agree that we need to protect and ring fence those categories that I've talked about. You recall that in an earlier decision, I think the Minister of Finance agreed with the labor unions to ring fence and protect pension funds. That was a very strategic decision. Because although those are institutional bondholders, they are the people within that category belong to the vulnerable groups. Teachers, nurses, going to lose their pensions in a debt restructuring program. That, I believe, would have been very unfortunate. That's why I think the government took a very positive step in excluding them from this debt.
But now you think we should exclude also domestic bondholders
from
the other category?
We should exclude the other bondholders in the vulnerable groups. So then now we are left with how we negotiate with the banks. And remember, I don't want to be giving the wrong signal. Protecting the interests of the banks and others is also very important. Because if through this restructuring process we end up weakening our financial sector, we are getting into a very dangerous economic situation. But because there can be no debt restructuring without what I would describe as loss of income, or what people call a haircut, it is something that we cannot avoid. But having a haircut in a debt restructuring program depends on two things: whose hair you are cutting and the intensity of the haircut. So if we are agreed that we must now focus our debt restructuring negotiations with the institutional bondholders, then the challenge will be, so what kind of formula are you going to use? Currently, the formula that has been put on the table may seem to suggest that there's no explicit haircut. They may seem to suggest that there's no explicit haircuts. But impliedly, there are haircuts, because according to the formula, there is going to be loss of revenue or income occasioned by the formula to these financial institutions. So, for example, the interest, the coupon, they call it coupon, yes, on your bonds are going to be reduced. So, for example, there will be no payments on your bonds in 2023 and 2024. And in addition to that, the institutions are being asked to switch their existing bonds to 7 new bonds. Those bonds that were maturing in 2023, they are now being asked to switch on to 7 new bonds, which will terminate in, I think, 2037.
Yeah, I get the point you're making.
Yes.
If I can come in. So you're saying that it's not fair to include individual bondholders. One argument is fairness, and you're making another argument that is even more serious. That in terms of confidence in running the economy, you don't want to do that, because in the future you're going to come back and ask for domestic persons to buy your bonds.
Yes.
And if you do this, then you are creating a major epochal change where people's attitude towards saving is going to vanish. Okay. But people also say, against the individual bondholders, that what they signed up for is an investment. And so if these debts were not owed to them by government, and it was owed by Bank X or M Fund or something, and that's happened in 2008, as happened before in the world, they come and say that there's a financial crisis globally, and subprime borrowing has crashed in America, therefore it's affected things in Ghana. So your money at M Fund, you will not get it. They wouldn't have said anything. But that because it is owed to government, and government is seen as a father, and government is seen as the owner of the purse and the protector of the citizens, they are actually blackmailing government and saying that give us our money, when they signed up for something that could have either made them profits or could have made them losses. And so that's where we are. You signed up for something, you could have made profits, but you made losses. You could have made losses when you were signing up. You knew that you may make profits and you may make loss. Now here we are, and then you come to government and say, oh, I won't vote for you. If you don't give me money, I won't vote for you. If it's Goldman Sachs who doesn't need your vote, what will you do? And that's why they can't sue you. The reason why they can't take a legal action is that if they take a legal action, the court will tell them, hey, you signed up for it. That's also forming part of the conversation. Now, you are a political leader, and your thinking is that, should we look at the document they signed, or should we look at the fairness, the morality, like you're saying, a teacher who has invested this and knows that in 2023, my interest in the first quarter will pay my rent. Interest in second quarter, by that time BEC results have come. It will take my child to secondary school. Yes, there's free SHS, but not everything is free. You have to buy something for the child. My third quarter interest will go to support my grandmother's investment towards her funeral, grandmother who is 85. So this is a teacher who has done this. And then you tell him that Parliament has approved that in 2023 he doesn't get anything. So I get the point you're making. As a politician, how do you juxtapose the two? People signed up to a legal document. But government has a responsibility. You are thinking government should rise up to its responsibility.
We don't, Paul, we don't have the term sheets associated with these bonds.
Yes, not yet.
But if we lift the veil, as lawyers, you know, we say, if we lift the veil and we get into the actual details, you may find that it is not as you are painting it. That whether it is government bonds or bonds issued by any external party, that you can just
tell somebody you're not paying him this.
Yes, unilaterally go against your own obligations. If that were the case, then there will be no security associated.
Well, the Attorney General has said that they cannot vary the terms unilaterally. Government cannot
so
vary
you're
the
supporting
terms.
what...
the Attorney General said that clearly.
The
government can't vary the terms only in consultation with the people.
Now,
government is saying that if you don't sign up for the bond, then you go to the analysis on the table, on the screen. Your 100,000 cedis, if you don't sign up, is now showing as 50,000 cedis. So you can get your 50,000 cedis and go away. For some who don't have as much as 100,000, it's showing as 0. So people bought shares, AGC shares, with 10 cedis. 2 years time, they have done a investment call up. So your money is going into the negative. So you don't have any shares with AGC. And they walked away like that.
But so that's different.
That's really different.
That's a different investment vehicle. When you invest in companies,
in shares,
on the stock market.
This is you give your money to him, say that you will give me 30% every year for the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's the point. That's a bond, and particularly
the meaning of it.
Well, I mean,
it's a commitment.
Well, it's a commitment, and there are various degrees associated with these bonds. But be that as it may, I think a more compelling argument to pursue is that whether they are what I may describe as exit points for government to, let's say, not fulfill their obligation. Even if that were the case, I'm still making the point that it is not in the overall interest of government to pursue a program that involves a critical mass of people who are not just vulnerable, but who would provide the basis of your own economy, particularly now that you are out of the market. So the legality, if we wanted to proceed along those lines, as you yourself have admitted, the Attorney General, who is government's lawyer, has already provided an opinion.
But that has to be voluntary. So that's what the ministry is trying to do.
Absolutely. So that's why it is voluntary. But there's a catch-22. Yes.
It's not quite voluntary. They say it's voluntary, but they mean if you don't sign up and you don't want to do it, your money is not there.
Yeah, but
so really, it's not quite voluntary.
Yeah, but the advice that I would give. So I want us to be clear about the import of the different solutions that are possible.
Yeah.
So one solution is that based on A, B, C, D, let us protect and ring-fence these vulnerable groups.
So that's your solution.
Protect
and ring-fence individual bondholders
and
those then the other corporate bondholders.
Yes. Those engaged in the collective investment
schemes. And you are saying that together, that should be about 15%.
Not more. I don't think it should be more than
17,
that.
not more than 17% of the 137 billion Ghana cedis.
And then you also bring into this group that you are protecting the pension funds.
They are already there.
Yeah, no.
They are already been ring-fenced.
They've already been.
So you add this to them.
So you add this to them. So you get, let's say, a critical mass.
Then you negotiate with the rest.
Then you negotiate with the rest. Now, so if we take out this element of legality, which might not be a reasonable part to pursue.
No, it shouldn't. I'm just using it as a devil's advocate.
No, I understand you. Then basically it's almost like you are left with no choice but to deal with this other group. And I'm saying that even in dealing with this other group, we have to be very careful about making sure that whatever final agreement we come to does not, number one, significantly erode their income, their profitability, and their liquidity. So then the bottom line is, so what kind of architecture or formula will guarantee this?
Yeah.
So what is on the table now, in my view, as I said, there's no explicit haircut, but there's an implicit haircut because of the nature of the maturity date for the bonds which have been proposed to them by government. It's very complicated. As I explained to you, 2023 bonds that are maturing will be replaced by 7 different bonds, you know, maturing at different periods consecutively up to 2037. Those that are maturing in 2024 will be replaced by 12 bonds. Maturing.
Well, you take a little bit.
A little bit. My view is that a neater and more economically feasible way will be to adopt an original formula that had been proposed, which was described as the 10-10-10 formula. So
I'll come to you. I want you to explain the 10-10-10 formula very well.
Yeah.
But I also want to ask you that, so the point you are making is, you made the point first that government must come to a 55% GDP to debt ratio.
Yes.
So I'm going to be asking you that, do you think that if
this way of living, struggling to please God, struggling to meet standards that they don't...
whether you can tell us that after the 10-10-10 is implemented, we'll still be able to achieve 55% on debt to GDP ratio? All right, so next we go to listen to Alan Kyerematen's solution. So what you heard right now is Alan Kyerematen's diagnostics of the problem, and he firmly believes that individual bondholders and collective bondholders should not be included in the debt exchange program, in the way in which government is doing it. He agrees on a debt exchange program, but he says that's not the way. Next, we're going to hear him on the real solution. So he proposed something he called the 10-10-10. You get the details about it, and then we can share it. After that, we'll listen to him talking about GTP a little bit, and then we'll hear him talking about, we'll take you back to the beginning of the interview where we talked about how he spent Christmas and all that. So let's hear text messages on what people are saying about Alan Kyerematen's appreciation of the problem. Karen, let me start with you.
Thank you, Paul. Akowa, he says, the pot of wisdom is speaking. Alan Cash is too deep and intelligent. We can't wait to vote him as our next president. Amano Ekufo Ebenezer says, I didn't know Alan Kojo John Kyerematen has these ideas and NPP is sinking the nation like this. Maybe he decided to reserve it for his own term. Lastly, from New York, I have taken time to study the 3 main contenders in the NPP race, and I can say that Alan is all round on national matters and development driven. NPP needs him after the Nana Addo government. Over to you.
Okay, so speaking in context, Haruna Jibril comes up with this submission. He says, Alan is going into a context with 3 distinct qualities. The first one is his passion about creating jobs for Ghanaians, the tradition of the party which rewards long services, committed and sacrifices to the party, and lastly, his personality which is incomparable to anybody at all. Coming from Benjamin A. Akowa, Chief Alan John Kwadwo Kyerematen demonstrated deep appreciation of the issues and offers a practical solution. Alan is indeed the right man for the job. He is the best person to lead the NPP to break the 8. The second gentle giant is Alan John Kwadwo Kyerematen because he has the insight of handling the presidency, which can't be gambled at all. Coming from Kobinyakon's impressive submission on the economy, fellow countrymen and women, stop everything and come listen to the next president of the Republic of Ghana. And lastly, from Barima Kwejo Janku, to break the 8, we need the spotless, gentle Jack who is fully endowed with wisdom and honor. He is the best person to lead the NPP. Cash for the people, jobs for the people. Over to you, Eunice.
From Alhaji Bob City, he says, Paul, assalamu alaikum. Alan is a nice man, but with the introduction of the new kid on the block, DMB, the chances of Alan is fading. Alan heydays was when he challenged Akufo-Addo and lost in all the bits. This time around is Dr. Bawumia's time. Alan's best is to negotiate to be Dr. Bawumia's running mate. Other than that, he should forget it. Facts are scary. This is what I see. Greetings to my constituency. MP Honorable Eko Vincent Sifwa, the human capacity builder and Tafo constituency youth savior. Gideon Otredaku says, I'm getting disappointed in you, Mr. Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. You were part of the cabinet. So, You could have professed these solutions. Why now? Today, you want to make us believe that you had no say in all this, which some of us cannot agree with you. You are further giving the opposition arsenals to fight us. This is not good. And lastly, from Benjamin Akua, he says, Chief Alan addresses our problem as a country from a practical perspective. Angelo?
Right. So Kobinyako says impressive submission on the economy. Baba Yakubu says, good evening, Paul. My question to Chief Alan is, what stopped him from layering all these points in cabinet meetings to help the government succeed? Will he campaign on the successes if given the chance to lead the party, since he forsook the party and government in his hard times for his personal interest? He should know we, the delegates of the NPP, are enlightened and will reward hard work, loyalty to the party, competence. Good night. Now, Haji Bob City says, Paul, Alan is one of the longest-serving cabinet ministers of the NPP from J. Okufor's days to now, but all he is saying is like a lyric. Trying to shield himself as having a better solution is a mirage. Right. And this one says, Alan is the best to lead our dear country. We are fully behind him. The Zango movement for Alan, Secretary Hudam, and General Ortega says, good evening, Paul. The collateral damage inflicted on the party and its tradition by Nanado is too colossal for anyone to surmount, but I think Alan K has integrity to salvage the image of the party a little, but not to win the presidency. And largely, this one says, good evening, Paul. It's time for Ghana to witness a practical economy through industrialization, and Chief Alan is the best choice to do the work. Chief Alan all the way. This is coming from Kojo Suglo Samuel. Back to you.
Let me take it over. All right, so viewers, I hope that you are still paying attention. Now, we are going back to the interview video to now listen to the solution that was proposed by the former trade minister and now presidential candidate. He called it the 10-10-10. That's the solution for the individual bondholders and the collective bondholders in the debt exchange program. Here's Alan Martin again. Okay, presidential candidate, you talk about, let's get to the solution because that's what people want to hear. So at least your view is that we should save individual bondholders because they are vulnerable and the collective holders also because they are vulnerable, same way we've done with the pension funds. And the big question is, if we do that, are you confident that we can still achieve a 55% debt to GDP ratio? What is the 10-10-10 solution?
Well, the 10-10-10 that was earlier proposed was that there will be a 10% haircut on the principal, on the bonds held by the institutional bondholders. And then there will be a shorter maturity period of 10 years. And then also that there would be the 10% interest that is paid on their total bond holdings. So 10 in terms of...
So they'll lose 10% of their principal?
Yes.
Then they will get their interest in 10% fold over the next 10 years.
Yeah, they'll get 10%, 10%, which, I mean, is better than no interest.
10% of the interest?
Yeah, no, so 10% interest.
10% of the interest?
No, 10% interest. Instead
on
of
whatever
zero,
they have?
Yes, instead of the zero
interest.
Because there's...
Okay, there's zero interest for many
years.
What is
on the table now?
Zero for 2023.
Zero 2020, zero for 2024.
Yeah.
And in the subsequent years, 5%.
5, 6, something like that.
You know, very complicated formula. So this is a bullet formula, 10, 10, 10, 10 on the principal, then 10% on the 10% interest instead of the zero interest, and then 5 subsequent years. And then also the maturity period, 10...
is pushed away a little bit.
10%, yeah. Instead of the complicated up to 2038.
So the 10-10 proposal is that we're going to do a 10-year transaction.
Yeah.
So we're ending in 2033.
Yeah.
Now you take 10% off your principal.
Yeah.
So your principal, if you are say X bank, and your principal is 9 billion cedis, for instance. 900 million of that will go away. You won't end that. Then in the subsequent years, you will get 10% of the interest that was due. 10, 10, 10, and then you continue. And you're going to complete this process in 2033, 10 years from now.
Let's say, yes.
Yeah, that's the solution. Will
that
that bring us to 55% GDP?
So you see, the requirement under the fund's, I would say, parameters architecture is that 80% of your total debt must be subject to this exchange. So,
80%.
Yeah,
okay.
80%. So if, as we are describing, the institutional holders have almost like 70%, and then 15% Bank of Ghana. Bank of Ghana alone is taking about 25% a haircut. You understand me? On their holdings. So if you combine Bank of Ghana and then let's say the banks, insurance companies, and things like that, you would have more than the 80% of the bondholders or the total bond holdings that would have been subject to this debt exchange. In which case, the vulnerable groups that you are protecting will not be, they are not up to 20%. So you still qualify. You still qualify. But then having said that, within this formula, what you then do is to now agree on some relief or mitigating measures for the banks to help them to recover what they are losing, either with a 10% haircut on principal and then the subsequent reduction in their coupon rate or the interest rates. So that's a matter for negotiation. And there could be different options. You could give them a corporate tax relief for a certain period.
That goes against revenue mobilization.
Yes, it goes against revenue, but that does not offend against the formula for the bank. I mean,
for the program.
Fund, for the fund.
Yeah, that's important.
The more critical one with the fund is to make sure that you stay within the parameters of moving from 105 to 55.
Very important. How you do it.
So there's the how you do it. The fund does not impose.
People have also talked about, I'll let you continue, but you've talked about government expenditure.
I'll come
later
to
on,
that.
I'll let you, I want you to speak about that. But you have been part of the government whose expenditure is being criticized.
I'll come to that.
All right.
Let's stay on this one.
Okay. So we are at the point where you say we should negotiate with them, and you think that getting the fund out of the way is very, very important.
Yes. So there are certain reliefs that you can provide to the banks to help them to recover.
Yeah, corporate taxes
and a few other things. You know, there's a levy on, you know,
a few things they do. Yeah.
On the financial
some of the transactions
services,
with insurance companies.
Financial services, you could, even though that may also then reduce your revenue.
Yeah.
That is easier to negotiate with the fund. The movement on that is easier to negotiate with the fund than to try and recalibrate the formula for this one. Secondly, the fund also has a responsibility to support the government in negotiating the appropriate formula, because the last thing that the fund, I believe, should be looking for is getting agreement on a domestic debt exchange program, which, I mean, creates total confusion in the economy. I hope
yes, the fund will not
so
even want
part
that.
of that responsibility also lies on the fund. In some cases, it is difficult for them to renegotiate. 105 to 55%. That is the basis for the staff level agreement. You know, the staff level agreement that we have signed on to, which is a very important precondition for the board approval. You know, going down to 55%, it's more difficult to negotiate with the fund than for them to agree to a situation where you are providing reliefs to support the financial institutions who are the subject of this debt exchange program. Number two, we could also request the fund that instead of requesting Ghana to complete this domestic debt exchange program by 2028, which is what they are requesting Ghana to do now, to extend the period, the implementation period, to, let's say, 2030 or 2032. Because then that also does not put too much pressure on the government and on the institutions that you are negotiating with. So then you can play within that. And I feel that that is easier to negotiate with the fund to extend the implementation period. Because if you are expecting this whole program to be completed by 2028 and you extend it to 2030 or 2032, it means that you have more flexibility, you know, in the way you structure these negotiations with the fund. And also, it's fundamental. Look, debt to GDP is what it speaks of, debt and then GDP. It's a ratio. So, yes, once you reduce your debt, if you are able to expand your economy, your debt to GDP ratio would probably improve much faster.
Because the economy will expand.
Because the economy will expand. And I keep on saying this, I want to reinforce this point, that our president, His Excellency the President, has built a solid foundation over the last 6 years in terms of creating the fundamentals for the economy to grow. A lot of the flagship programs, One District, One Factory, Free SHS, the infrastructure, the roads program, all these are meant to create the basis and the foundation for an expanded economy. So there will be a balancing, a rebalancing of the economy within a matter of 2 years.
You trust that?
It will happen. You see, because the physical path that we are pursuing with the support of the IMF and the debt, domestic debt exchange program in particular, will bring the country back into equilibrium.
The way we were in 2018?
Yes, into a pre-COVID level. So that is the trajectory. In fact, that is the value and importance of this IMF program. Yes, it's a painful process to go through, but if you look at the outturn over the next 5 years, we will get back into equilibrium. In which case, if you have a longer implementation period, which I'm asking the government to negotiate with the fund, the rebalancing of the economy would in itself de-emphasize I would say, the extent that we have to, let's say, cut.
I get the point you are making. So in simple terms, debt to GDP ratio should be 55%. So let's use simple numbers. So our GDP, say 100. We call it 100 cedis. And our debt is 50 cedis. Our debt should be 50 cedis or about 55. So about a little bit more than 50 cedis for it to be sustainable. You are saying that if we go through what we are going through now, we can double our GDP from 100 to 200. In which case, even if our debt grows to 70,
and our debt will be coming down anyway.
Even if it goes up, we are still within the room of 55%. So you are focused on the productivity.
So there's a rebalancing of the economy.
You think the economy is being set up for productivity? But we need to cross this bridge.
We need to cross this bridge. And
I was going to ask you a question that you've answered.
But if I can just focus on this. If we fail to cross this bridge by agreeing on the terms of a domestic debt exchange program, it means that we are not going to have a program with the fund. And if we don't have a program with the fund, I don't want to sound pessimistic, this economy gradually will grind to a halt.
But the economy that you say is so good.
If it grinds to a halt, the repercussions and the impact will be worse
for everyone.
Will be worse for everyone, not just the bondholders, because it means that it will be a self-induced haircut in a sense, but it will be total. You see, because I was referring to the fact that our current reserves, international reserves, is one of the lowest in recent history. And you don't have to wait till you get to the point where your economy is on the path towards a total crash, and then you are beyond recovery. So whichever way you look at it, we need to close and draw down the curtain on this domestic exchange program.
Two questions for the point that you are making. Somebody will say that, is it not an irony for Alan Kyerematen to say the economy has fundamentals, and if we go through 2 years, we recover, and then say that where we are now, if we don't get an IMF program, is bleak. So somebody is going to say also, you say that if we don't get an IMF program, we'll be in crisis. Somebody's going to say that, no, but don't forget about Alan Kyerematen. If we don't get an IMF program, his presidential ambition will be aborted because the NPP cannot win if the economy is bad. So really that's what he's talking about, but we'll come to that.
Can I just make a quick point on this?
Yeah. But you are talking about your presidential ambition.
No, apart from the rational basis for what I'm saying, you know, I recently proposed a great transformational plan.
Yes.
Post the IMF program. The first pillar on that is a stable, sustained macroeconomic effort, which will lead to economic resilience. So I will not benefit in canvassing for total confusion, where there's a situation we are unable to conclude on this domestic exchange program, and we don't have.
Your opponents are going to say
program.
that, and John Mahama has been saying it. That look, this is the NPP Akufo-Addo government that completely ran down the economy. Mr. Mijefi said it this morning. That has brought us to where we are. Forget about Alan Kyerematen. He's trying to manage his presidential campaign and his presidential ambition. This Akufo-Addo government has run down the economy from 2016, 17, 18, 19, and that is what we are seeing. What we are seeing with IMF program. And for instance, how can Alan say the economy's fundamentals are good? Let's go through and recover. How can an economy whose fundamentals are good show poor foreign reserves? Show such a precarious situation that we are actually even telling domestic bondholders that we'll take your money from you. That economy cannot be said to an economy that has fundamentals.
Paul, let us make sure that there's clarity about what I've said or what I intend to say. I'm saying that we've built a strong foundation.
Yes.
For the economy to grow.
So how did we get here?
But that's a whole discussion.
Okay.
And I'll be very pleased to come back.
Is it the government's fault that we got here?
I'll be pleased to come back
for that discussion.
And I've made it clear that things that we could have done differently and we could have done better. There's no doubt.
So you admit that within the period, the 6 years that you have been part of the government, there are some things that could have been done better.
Yes, but that does not take away from the fact that we have built the foundation for the economy to grow. So the GTP that I've been proposing is anchored on two things. First, a successful IMF program, which restores the country to macroeconomic stability, and then a transformational plan. There are two elements of that.
So if you were talking to bondholders, you'll be pleading with the institutional bondholders to agree on a certain program, but you'll be proposing to them what seems like a better one than what they have before them, which is 10% haircut on principal. You get 10% interest, and then we'll build it on and negotiate with the firm to give us an extended program. You will not
implementation period.
The implementation period.
You don't necessarily have to touch.
Right now we have up to 28.
Yes.
But we can negotiate to get it further.
You don't necessarily, because the basis for the agreement with the fund, with the fund, was that bring it down from 105 to 55%. And remember, the 55% takes care of not just the debt, but also all the arrears and contingent liabilities. So if we are able to get there, even with a longer implementation period, this economy will be restored to equilibrium. So that's different from saying that there are no challenges. It's very obvious. If you have inflation running at what percent?
Over 50%.
Over 50%. You have low reserves. You have a highly depreciating currency.
And you do have a high expenditure as well.
These are not things that you should be celebrating. But having said that, it doesn't take away from the fact that over the last 6 years, we have developed programs that provide the basis. And that's where the distinction that we are talking about. The basis for the economy to bounce back.
That's the point you're making.
That's the point.
There are programs in place for the economy to bounce back.
But also to reinforce the point that we actually have no option but to ensure that we close our negotiations on this domestic debt program, which is the only way the fund would give us a board approval. Because the alternative will be something that we cannot contain in this country. Because let's face it, without an IMF program, and the timing is also very important.
When you say without an IMF program, do you actually mean without the 3 billion coming into the economy?
Yes,
which
that's
is the
part of
key
it.
part of the program.
And
yeah.
then also the program to restore us to fiscal consolidation, and then also sustainable debt. So the inflow is a small part of it. It is the total program that restores us to fiscal consolidation and then also to sustainable debt levels. The inflows are designed to help us to achieve both objectives.
I'm just adjusting my tie. Don't you enjoy Alan Kyerematen's interview? Well, so now you've heard the solution of the 10-10-10, which is the solution that is designed for government as an alternative. What do you people think about it? We've been reading some very interesting text messages. Karen, let's start with you. Tell us some of them.
Barry Makweku says the new agricultural revolution is coming. Job for the people, cash for the people. Ernest Menu says this is an independent-minded person who has stepped out there to espouse his views on present and future programs. I know people would misconstrue his stance as hypocrisy, but I am sure the next NPP government in 2025 would review, re-energize and refocus our programs in one district, one factory, planting for food and jobs, etc. Alan of the moment. Lastly, from Ajua, he says Alan can do the job, so let's give him the chance. Afa Alan for all. Over to you.
So this is coming from Knee Rock. He says 10-10-10, the best way out of the economic quagmire. Economics is not for everyone. Practical economics over digital economics. Chief Alan is speaking wisdom in the midst of storm. He understands the plight of ordinary Ghanaians and the best way to go about this DEP without unleashing more poverty onto the people. He says 10-10-10 again. This man is deep. No wonder he entered senior high school at a tender age of 9. Mido Razak says, Paul, we thank God for Alan Kyerematen. He is the surest bet for the NPP. Alan is a whole institution to attend and a course to study. Asari Kingsley Ofosu, lastly, Alan John Kojo Kyerematen really understands the economy. He would be a great and a good president. Over to you, Eunice.
Coming from New Rock, he says, speaks like before, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Second gentle giant, out of government, but doing big on helping the government out. I can't sleep because Ken Oforiatta must be listening. Ghana will bounce back. And from Nana Yawedu, he also says, the greatest want of NPP now is a man who does not fear to call sin by its right name, a man who is honest, a man who cannot be bought or sold, a man who would be bold enough to be to the stop. I will take this again. The greatest want of NPP now is a man who does not fear to call sin by its right name, a man who is honest, a man who cannot be bought or sold, a man who will be bold enough to stop the looting brigadiers of this country, a matured politician who has taken time to learn from both inside and outside. Alan is a blessing to Ghana. Let all right-thinking Ghanaians support him to be president. And lastly, from Alex to 4, was Alan not part of the government, and what was his contribution to help solve the economic problems confronting the government now? He can't come and deceive Ghanaians with these economic theories. Hamburg, Germany. Over to you, Angelo.
Right. So Michael from Ashala just says, hi Paul, it's unfortunate the fundamental problems facing the economy is not being addressed by this government. These entities convert the cities to dollars daily and are sent abroad. The big banks, telcos, importers, mining companies, betting companies, quarry communities, major contractors, the black market operators, etc. In fact, domestication is the solution to Ghana's challenges. And I'll end with a brief exchange on Alan's potential to have solved the problem while he was still in government. Benjamin A. Akowa says, Baba Yakubu, have you read all the minutes of cabinet meetings to ascertain what he said at cabinet? Baba Yakubu responds, you would have done as good if you can tell whether he did that or not and not ask whether I've read it. Now, this is the message. You know that Alan is not a coward. He definitely spoke out. Indeed, his views would never override that of the vice and the president. All he could do was speak. You must know better. Back to you, Paul.
Okay, so that was Alan Kyerematen's appreciation of the problem and his solution. You've seen it. We're going to be put it on social media. But then we also found occasion to ask him at the tail end of the conversation about a little bit about his GTP. There were those who said that Alan Kyerematen's GTP is not anchored on education. There's nothing in about education, nothing in about health. We put that question to him when he came into the studio earlier. So that's the last part of the interview. Alan Kyerematen on GTP. Okay, Honorable Presidential Candidate, you've spoken well. I'm sure that the debate will start and everybody will take a bit of what you said, criticize it, address it, add it. Some will support it. We'll see how it goes. But you mentioned GTP, which excites me, which excited everybody on the night that you published it. Yeah. You've been criticized for ignoring education in GTP, that without education, you can't do anything. Alan Kyerematen didn't say anything about education. Coming from a party that has been flagging free SHS as one of their big flagship programs. You didn't mention education, you didn't mention health in GTP. Yeah. Why?
Well, Paul, let me respond very quickly to this. Remember, I've spoken about the great transformational plan. It is obvious, or it must be obvious, even to those who do not support this current government, that over the last 6 years, we've initiated major structural reforms in the field of education and the field of health. And major structural reforms would lead to transformation. So if you look at education, for example, it's not just the free SHS, it is the new program to support vocational and technical education, the new program to support science, technology, engineering and mathematics, the STEM program, and then also the massive infrastructure that is going on for the educational sector. So, to a large extent, the transformation that I'm calling for has been achieved, to some significant extent in both the education sector and then the health sector. The National Health Insurance is a program that is celebrated all over the world. But in addition to that, the Agenda 111, which the President has initiated, it's a major program for transformation in the health sector.
So your GTP is anchored on the already existing achievements in education and health.
In education and health, I feel that we spent resources on the social sectors, which would then provide the basis for the kind of investments I'm calling for in the productive sectors of the economy under the growth and the great transformational plan.
Honorable Alan Kyerematen, thank you very much for your time. And I have to say that a lot of youth were happy when you named GTP, because we have had presidential candidates that say they want to be president and they don't tell us with what to measure them. They just come and say, I want to be president. I think the young people don't want that anymore. So Alan says GTP. Okay, so now we know what GTP is. So if he steps away from GTP, we know we can call out his name. And I think I have to congratulate you for that, for being a politician who sits down and says, I'm not just going to announce that I want to be president, but this is my plan. And I think that was very good. And you've set the pace. I'm sure other plans are going to follow so that eventually we can pick the best plan. But I know you'll be traveling around 275 constituencies. Safe travels, good luck. And hopefully we'll see you again, either in this studio or we'll chase you up to the field and give you an interview. So you have your family supports to run for this campaign. In America, they always ask that question. Do you have your family supports to run for this?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay. All right.
I do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Good luck.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll meet again.
Okay.
All right. That was Alan Kyerematen. Thank you very much to Alan Kyerematen. We will surely meet again. Karen, final round of text messages. What are people saying?
Kosa, he says, Paul is brilliant and must be commended for that. Kudos to the team. Dr. Frank says, Paul. Over to you.
So coming from Asari Kingsley Ofosu, wow, Alan is very deep. I'm highly impressed, sir. The GTP is indeed the way to go. Alan equals wisdom plus knowledge equals great transformational plan. This is coming from Gloria Ainson. And lastly, from Nana Ejeni Mboatin Romeo. On top of it all, like play, if both Alan and Bawumia lose the primaries to Ken, I go laugh pound. Over to you, Eunice.
From Raymond Inso, he says, "Good evening, Brother Paul. Happy New Year to you and your excellent team. I wish you and your team more productive this year. These fine points presented by Alan Cash on your program is really surprising. Wasn't Alan part of Radado government? Is it telling us that indeed the finance minister doesn't work hand in hand with his boss, the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia? Watching you from New York City and from the Baba Taylor, Honorable Alan Tremontin should just stop everything and agree to be a running mate to Dr. Bawumia to make breaking the 8 more easier. The NPP is surely breaking the 8 with Dr. Bawumia as the president. DMB is really the next to lead, inshallah. Over to you, Angelo.
Akbar from Tamale says, all Chief Alan is saying cannot help as he's just doing this for his own interest because you were part of the government. Why didn't you give all this to help the country? He says DMB is the right man for the job. And General Ortega says, Alan K., my friend, has personal goodwill to salvage the party. I still maintain the collateral damage by Nana Addo is too huge. And that's it.
Okay, all right, that's it. It's 11:15 now, 11:15 o'clock now. We'll be back on the program Thursday with that, with other stories. Forgive us, we couldn't touch on, I wanted to say something about Alpha R. I'll do that on Thursday. And then also, we couldn't touch on the sexual harassment. Maybe we'll have a look at it. That's it for Good Evening Ghana tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night.